All right. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Middle East Forum's weekly podcast series, Israel Insider. My name is Anaf Kalam, and I will be moderating today's discussion. We're pleased to be joined by Alex Selsky, Senior Advisor to the Middle East Forum's Israel Victory Project and Major on the IDF Home Front Command, joining us to give us a brief update on the top events going on in Israel this week. Mr. Selsky will give us a briefing for 15 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A from the audience. If you would like to ask a question, please feel free to use the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen to type your question. And with that, I will turn the discussion over to Mr. Alex Selsky.
Now, thank you very much. Okay, so very, very dramatic week in life of Israel and Israeli defense, and I think very dramatic week in the life of the whole world, definitely in this global war between the West and the East, or America's camp and Chinese camp. And first time, actually, when we experienced direct confrontation between Iran and Israel for the whole 45 years of existence of the Islamic Revolution. That was the first time that Iran didn't use its proxies, but confronted directly Israel as retaliation to the assassination of Brigadier General of the Revolutionary Guards of Iran, the one that was responsible for the Al-Quds operation in Syria and Lebanon. Now, we actually saw a few days before this attack, which the attack took place in Saturday, and before, you definitely saw that for a few days, we saw all the time publications about the attack coming with a very precise, or at least close to the one that took place. We saw that at least few times publications in major American outlets spoke about almost precise schedule of this attack. And at the weekend, we saw every time more and more precise publications speaking about the attack that will come on the weekend, and then on Saturday, and then Saturday evening, and then at night, until we really saw it's happening. So at night, between Saturday and Sunday, 155 drones, 110 ground-to-ground missiles, and 35 cruise missiles were fired at Israel from Iran directly. And a whole coalition, together with the United States, with Britain, with France, and with Saudi Arabia and Jordan, participated in the air defense and interception of this attack, which is also a very historic moment, definitely having Saudi Arabia and Jordan intercepting attack on Israel from Iran. We know that definitely Jordanians were very much criticized from within and from outside Arab world, but they explained it into Jordan that it was an attack on Jordan, and which practically is correct, because the missiles went through Jordanian skies, so they intercepted these missiles while they were in the skies, and the same about Saudis. But a big part of the missiles, and primarily big part of the drones, were intercepted in Israel by Israeli air defense systems. three major systems: Arrow, David Sling, and Iron Dome, and all the world saw its success, and definitely the system now generate profits and draw attention in the international market, and I'm sure that they will gain big demand for them. I myself was recruited on Saturday as a major in front command. I'm a briefing officer. I speak through the media to the public, and our mission was primarily resilience, to calm people down, to explain to them that we know how to handle it, that they must follow our instructions. And we saw on Saturday that Israeli public did everything perfectly, was calm, and that was very, very successful. We have only one injured Bedouin girl, and we do know that actually this girl was injured as a family didn't follow the instructions fully. No casualties and no big damage. We had some damage in Air Force Base, but it's very, very, very marginal. And IDF spokesman showed this damage, and it was really marginal. So the big question is, was that success or failure? Was that victory or defeat? And here we have arguments within Israel, and I would like to give you the full range of the opinions on one side and one on the other. Well, first of all, immediately after that, the big question was how to react. Should Israel respond to that? And that depends also on how we see if it was failure or success. And immediately the morning after, on Sunday, we heard President Biden saying that it was a victory, that Israel won, and actually there is no need to respond. Big pressure we see now from G7, which was Biden tries to pursue them to pressure on Israel. We see promise to approve the big assistance, defense assistance to Israel of $14 billion, which is kind of attempt to convince Israel not to respond, and promises of sanctions against Iran. So when we speak about the perception in Israel, if this was failure or defeat, we also have to take into consideration how people see the price that Israel may get from portraying, from framing it as either success or failure. So, as I say, in Israel, we have very much a split. We had a poll yesterday which shows that 48% are for response, 59%, 52% are against the response and call to finish this round, and 74% actually call not to respond if it hurts the alliance with our close allies. First of all, definitely speaking about the United States and also the coalition, our friends in Europe and our friends in the Middle East. But yet, what are the claims of those who claim that it was a failure? And here I have to say that we, again, as always in Israel, we see that this split, we can identify it politically. Those who are for Netanyahu they try to convince us that that was victory, and those who are against Netanyahu try to show that it was a failure. Not, again, very roughly, but we can see that, and it's understandable. So those who claim that it's a victory, they say that it was a very big success of the air defense, that Iran showed that it's weak, that actually, we were really frightened by Iran, but it came out as, as a weak power, as if we can intercept it so easily. So why fear? Hamas and Hezbollah saw that we intercepted that very successfully. So, that was a very good message to them, to the proxies, and the coalition, definitely. The political power of Israel to gain this coalition to defend Israel together with us. Those who claim that it was actually a failure or defeat say they take the same facts but interpret them very differently, and say, we talk about coalition. What does this mean? That we cannot do the job alone? That this principle that was so important for Israel, that we can defend ourselves by ourselves, is not valid anymore? Why we need this coalition? Why we need Americans and Saudis to what? To intercept missiles? We can do that. We are dependent on them. The fact that Iran didn't fear to attack, that Iran for the first time didn't do it through the proxies, but did it alone. So what does it mean? That we don't have deterrence toward Iran, that they don't fear to attack us directly? It's very expensive. Don't forget that it's very expensive. The whole night costed for us about 4 or 5 billion shekels. It's a lot of money. So some people come and say, listen, okay, we did it very well, but we can't afford doing it many, many times. And people say, listen, if we don't retaliate, we actually show them that the whole that they will know that they can do it again and again. Okay, so we must respond. We cannot leave it without response. And if we do that, so they will just know. So now, after every association, every targeted killing that we do, they will send 300 missiles and drones, and will pay 4 or 5 billion shekels to intercept it. It's impossible. We must show them that they cannot proceed doing it. Now, few interesting facts. Israeli reporter Barak Ravid actually published that Israel was ready to attack back already on Monday. But Biden, and when Israel actually apparently informed the United States and the White House on the attack, so President Biden demanded from Israel to stop it, and Israeli airplanes, which were already in the air, they were actually called to fly back. I don't know if it's true. I can just tell that in Israel, all the atmosphere was that it's that the retaliation could happen soon. And today we see many publications that speak about limited Israeli response. We see that the pressure on Israel now is very, very big from the United States and our other allies, even though we see that some of the publications from the White House were that, we're not, publicly, that we are not involved in the Israeli decision how to react. They will do it. I think this is kind of, trying to either press on Israel or, to to exit the situation correctly, like if Israel strikes, so let's, not participate. And also some people say in Israel that, it looks like it was all planned and coordinated through the United States. Otherwise, why there were so precise publications days before the attack that described almost precisely what will be the scale and what will be the timing. And it looked like, and also remember that almost all the publications were in the United States. Some people say, okay, so how come it was all in the United States? So maybe it was actually publications to press and to, to lead the whole operation that was all orchestrated by the United States. Some say that it's very good, actually, that we had this confrontation directly with Iran, because finally Iran showed its face, which they were hiding all the time under their proxies. And now actually they, took the face out and said, okay, that's us. So now we know who the enemy is. Now, definitely many people call and say, okay, this is the opportunity now to confront Iran. And definitely we hear many voices of Iranian opposition, including the opposition figures that we, the Middle East Forum, are in cooperation with and lead their activity, like Vahid Beheshti in London, which we just brought to Israel and to Congress. And they say, guys, come on, 90% of the Iranian people are against the regime. That's your opportunity. Go until the end. So the situation now is still open. I can tell you that I finished my reserve today, and we're all on a standby. So we'll see in the next days. Many things can yet happen, and the next Israel Insider will be not less interesting.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you so much for that briefing, Alex. Your last point was a good segue into a question we have from David Levine. Excuse me. He begins, some in the media are trying to portray this as a carefully orchestrated sham maneuver by Iran designed to test Israel's defensive capabilities and to placate Iran's own restive population. How do you respond to such assessments?
Well, as I told, listen, we hear voices from Iran of satisfaction saying that, we now created a new formula of reaction to Israel and every assassination. So they try to, to sell it to the world and definitely to their people as success. I don't know if they, looking at the results, if they try to test their systems, they showed, that their systems are rather weak. I think we see that, they're not as strong as we thought. So I think that if there is some organization and trying to orchestrate it, it more looks, I think, as American attempt. And I think that maybe Iran was more forced to react than wanted to react. By the way, you remember that few days before the attack, we heard many quotes of Iranian leadership saying that, if, the UN Security Council would condemn Israel, maybe we even don't react. I think it was some attempt. I don't know how big it was. Definitely, it might be part of the negotiation, to climb back, to find exit from the situation. So for me, it looks like if it was organization orchestrated play, it looks for me that Iran was more forced to react than initiated reaction.
All right. Now, you touched on this earlier in your discussion about the just the overwhelming cost, even just for this last Saturday to intercept the Iranian missiles and drones. We have a question from Murray Feldman, who asks, can Israel afford to replenish the defensive weapons that they used? If not, where will the money come from? From the United States, from the UK, and other allies? And has Israel begun to develop more factories, etc., to boost up their offensive weaponry?
Well, guys, Israel has a big GDP, and the question of if we can afford, we can afford. The whole question is, priorities, like what you have to substitute it, where you take it from. For Israel defense budget, $5 billion is a lot of money, but this is not, this is not um, uh, this will not kill Israeli defense budget, and this will not kill Israeli economy. It will force us to take, Israel economy as well, and our outside debt is also rather good. So Israel can afford big war. I can, remind you that in the days of the big Israeli wars, the Israeli defense budget was up to 15% of Israeli of the budget. Okay, and today it's I don't know exactly, but like if I, or from GDP even maybe, and today from GDP it's maybe 3%. So we're good, definitely in comparison to the days of Yom Kippur War, or definitely 6 days war. So we can afford. It will have very heavy price in education and welfare and other areas. Our GDP is above 300 $1 billion. We again remember that we also only 10 million the population, so we have money to fight, and we can expand our debt. But it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy, and we're a developed country. Remember that we're not on the same level of living standard of Yom Kippur War. Israel GDP per capita is much higher, so it will mean that Israeli standard of living will go lower. That will be the price. But if we can do it, yes, we can do it.
All right, well, thank you. An anonymous attendee would like to ask, why do you think there was a difference between Iran's reaction at the neutralizing of Soleimani versus the killing of Mohammad Zahedi recently? For Soleimani, it didn't seem like there was much of a directed reaction, even though he was higher up the military ladder, whereas with Zahedi, Iran launched a direct attack on Israel.
Well, I think that maybe many people will answer in one word: Trump. American interfering and presence in the Middle East and willing to be proactive was much higher then. And I also think that, remember that then we didn't have this stage of normalization with Saudi Arabia of Israel, and we also understand that much of this war motivation was to stop the normalization with between Israel and Saudi Arabia as part of huge American project of getting closer with India through the Middle East, which is, in the context of global war with China. So I think that the timing today and the big, the things that are on stake, also remember the context of the war in Ukraine, makes the players be much more proactive today than there. This is the geopolitical explanation, and also some, again, as I just told you, some people in Israel will tell you, well, they see that we are weaker, that we are more, we have this division within the society, we are in war, so they try us. Some will say the opposite. They understand that they cannot do anything serious, so they do it, limited. I think that all the answers are correct, that it's about the American presence, it's about the context of the global war, and they're proactive because they understand how important for them is to stop Israel from getting closer to Saudi Arabia, from United States and America and Europe from getting closer through the Middle East to India, in the context of the war with China/Russia. And the fact that they apparently fear less. So we must show teeth to stop them. And I think this is a crucial moment of test for the West, which, if not, will wake up. It will, we'll find ourselves in a much worse situation for the West in 10, 20, 30, 50 years, because Iran and Qatar, they use the democracies against democracies by, conquering. You don't need to influence big part of the society. You need 1, 2, 3, 4% of, of the electorate, and you see that the politicians are feared to move, and that's what they do with the propaganda toward the youth in the universities, and it works for them. And Khamenei tells that it works for them.
All right, well, thank you. So we have a few questions coming in from several of our viewers asking about the operations in Rafah. So first, I'll ask, why the delay in cleaning out Hamas from Rafah? And two, Len Getz is asking, we now hear that Hamas can only account for about 20 to 40 hostages. Has this been confirmed?
Well, one of the things that happened during this week is that Hamas just replied negatively to the deal that Israel was negotiating through Qatar. By the way, Qatar today said that they reevaluate their role as as a middleman in these negotiations. Maybe understanding that they just fail, and we see that Hamas don't really want a deal. They say that we don't really keep the hostages, and we can bring back only 20. Now we don't know what the truth is. Some say that they cannot bring these people as they don't have them. Some say they don't want to bring these people because they don't want the hostages to come out and tell the truth about what happened to them. And some say, I think truly, that they will always try until the very, very end to keep as many hostages as possible, because this is their major weapon, okay, keeping these hostages. So we don't see that Hamas won the deal. So we don't see the deal now. If we don't see the deal now, I think that Israel will be able to show the world that we must go into Rafah. Israel is very determined. I think it a bit, was put aside because of the Iran, but I'm sure that after the Iran issue will somehow be after, or Israel will be, controlling the situation with this confrontation of Iran, it will be definitely getting back to Rafah. Also, remember that to enter Rafah, you have to make many preparations to evacuate the civil population. We have almost, I don't know exact the numbers, but majority of those who escaped, the refugees from the north and the center of the Gaza Strip, went to Rafah. It's a very, very intense situation, very overpopulated today. So we have to evacuate them. And as we know from the publications, there is an argument between Israelis and Americans if Israel will be able to evacuate them and not to damage all the civil population. I'm sure that Israel can do that. It will demand proper organization preparation, but we must get there, and we must kill or expel the military wing of Hamas. By the way, we have a policy paper, we Middle East Forum have a policy paper written by Tzvi Hauser, former chairman of the Knesset Security and Foreign Affairs Committee, just finished, speaking about this very, very crucial. People don't understand, but I think it's really crucial. Nothing will rise in Gaza after Hamas if Hamas military wing will be either, destroyed or expelled. So this, thing of expel or killing them, and for that we need to get into Rafah, is very crucial to doing anything after Hamas, because first of, the first we must not to have Hamas in order to do something after Hamas. So and for that we have to get in Rafah, and we have to assassinate the leadership that is in Gaza and finish the job, no matter how much time it will take.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have run out of time and we have come to the close of our podcast. Alex, thank you again for taking the time to update us this week.
Thank you very much.
All right, and for our viewers and listeners, please note that there will not be any podcasts next week. And so I hope to join you all again on the week of April 29th for our next one. In the meantime, please keep an eye out on your email inboxes over the next week for our upcoming podcast guests. And before I sign off here very quickly, I would like to remind you all once again of the Middle East Forum's upcoming 30th anniversary policy conference in Washington, D.C. It will take place from May 13th through May 15th and will feature policy panels covering Israel victory, confronting threats from Turkey and Iran, reforming Middle East studies on campuses, and much, much more. You can sign up on our website under the activities tab or send an email to events@meforum.org. I hope to see you all there. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.